Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, and hello if you are new. My name is Andrea Johnson. I am your spiritual inspiration, here to inspire, empower, and teach you how to master your energy. Today's topic comes from a question that you guys asked me from one of my burning questions posts, as well as a coaching session from yesterday that I had at Mystic Spiritual Oasis, and that is how to practice forgiveness, how to let go of grudges, how to forgive, forget, and move on. Because guys, you have no idea how, one, deadly grudges actually are for our energy field, and two, when you actually let go and learn how to forgive and forget, there is so much room for new energy to enter into your field. Trust me, I have done it and manifested amazing things by just letting go of that low vibe BS. Let's talk about forgiveness to first start off with. Forgiveness is an art. We'll just say that, especially when we feel that somebody has done us wrong. We feel like we are entitled to an apology, and most of the time, guys, we don't get that apology. If you're wanting somebody to say they're sorry, or you're trying to practice forgiveness, you're essentially holding on to energy. You're trying to practice forgiveness so then you can let that anger go, right? A grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It is only you that is harming your energy field. What happens whenever we hold on to this energy of grudges, or, expecting somebody else to forgive for whatever reason, we're basically saying to ourselves that we're better than the other person, that we're holding a sense of entitlement almost, and that we are actually judging the other person. And if you know anything about, holding a sense of judgment, the only judgment you make is upon yourself. So essentially you're judging that other person, and therefore yourself, for something you would not be able to forgive yourself for doing, right? Essentially, it's not my place to judge another person, or therefore feel like I am entitled to a forgiveness. Because honestly, if you're placing expectations on somebody to give you an apology, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, because nobody owes you anything. Nobody has any kind of obligation to you, right? Essentially, nobody owes us an apology. And if nobody's going to give you an apology, it's almost like, how do you practice forgiveness without being the one who needs to say sorry, right? And giving it, even in situations of where you're not actually talking to that person and talking it out. Say like the person has passed on or something. How do you practice forgiveness when the person's not even there? So there are ways around that in which you can yourself forgive somebody and not actually talk to them. That has been my experience in how I'm actually able to forgive somebody, just consciously giving the forgiveness or making the intention to forgive, and not really even telling the person. Like, I'm not going to go up and tell somebody like, I forgive you for what you did, even though people do that. But I typically wouldn't say I forgive you unless somebody came up and actually gave me a heartfelt apology, right? So how in which I actually practice forgiveness over somebody who won't say they're sorry, or somebody who technically probably isn't sorry. Basically a walkthrough of a remembering of seeing truth in the situation, actually seeing it for what it is without that emotional tie-in. So it's like, first of all, I have to detach my emotions. I have to separate myself out from the situation and actually see it for what it is and the truth, right? Once I can remove myself from my emotions and process everything and look at everything logically, I can then remember this person, whatever they did to me, XYZ situation. This person only acted however best that they knew how in the moment. And then you understand, guys, that everybody is essentially doing the same thing. So it's understanding psychology a little bit and how the soul relieves itself of energy that it's going through. What happens in situations is that you're serving as a mirror, and you've triggered somebody probably, right? And therefore they either said something, acted a certain way in which you have judged it to be not in alignment or not okay, or maybe you're holding a boundary or something like that. But essentially, whatever it is, you're unable to see love in this situation, right? You start to bring yourself back to wanting to see love in this situation. So you therefore understand that the soul has to relieve itself of the energy internally. And so therefore, maybe somebody got angry and acted out or something like that. That was the best way in which they knew how to handle the energy. They had to literally express that energy to let it go, to then be able to relieve themselves, right? So you then understand that everybody is literally doing that in their entire life. Everybody is acting in the best way that they know how in the moment to be on their highest timeline, right? And sometimes that does look like acting out anger. Sometimes that does look like saying things that you don't technically mean. Sometimes that looks like taking actions like doing like drugs or addictions or things like that, because that's the medicine to relieve this, for the soul to relieve itself from feeling the emotions, right? So when you can understand why people are doing what they're doing on a deeper level, and you don't even have to be like, I know why you did that and said that because I'm serving as a mirror for you, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to say anything. You just internally know this, and it's almost like you have to remind yourself of this, because in the moment when somebody does say something to you, 9 times out of 10, your initial reaction is going to be to want to react, to want to engage. And when you have that emotional flare up, right? The whole reason why you feel like somebody owes you an apology when they made you feel a certain way that was uncomfortable, right? When you can zoom out and remind yourself of this, it will automatically bring you back to a place of love. So then you can view that other person with love and compassion, right? Or maybe it's not bringing you back to love. At least it's relieving you of that low vibrational emotion that probably triggered you to begin with. Or when you think back on the situation and you get angry again, you know, you're reliving it basically. When you can remember the truth of the situation and kind of walk yourself through this like process of reminding yourself of what is actually going on, then can you see it for what it is and hold compassion? Or can you be neutral in this situation, and that relieves you of that low vibrational feeling, right? Essentially dissolving the grudge, because the grudge is remembering what had happened and still holding on to that anger, right? That is one of the most toxic things for our energy field. In fact, grudges are actually one of the deadliest energies to keep in our field, right? So we want to release that for our own good. So I know for myself, when I walk myself through that process, I then ultimately view the other person almost as like a child. Like I start to develop such love and compassion that I see the wounded child and why they acted and how, which way they did, right? It almost makes me feel like just an overwhelming, like I want to give the person a hug. Like I want to help that person. Not necessarily do I want to go up and be like, let me help you. But no, I just like, it's almost like I see them as a child and I just want to go up and hug the child and show it love, right? And this thought process too, guys, is how you can forgive people who have passed on, because I've had to do that as well too. People have died suddenly, unfortunate and like tragic events in, you know, my life, close family members, and I've had to practice forgiveness without them even being there. Essentially, it's the same thing. Even though like they're gone, they're technically not gone. They're just in a different form, right? So you can still practice forgiveness because they are in your energy field. Every time that you think about them, they're essentially there. So you can practice forgiveness that way. And honestly, guys, if you're thinking that they're holding on to grudges as well too, they don't. Whenever you cross over, there's no reason for them to hold on to that energy. It is just you holding on to the idea that they are. So when they cross over, they essentially let that go, because that is too dense of an energy to take on to that next realm. So it stays in the earthly energies here. The next thing that I kind of think about, guys, is that not only are people just acting the best way that they understand how, but they're essentially just like, I want to say playing out the karma, but they're in energetic patterns. And it's not your place to try and change somebody or to tell them how to live their life, right? We are all kind of playing out our karma. And I hate the word karma, but essentially it's just energetic patterns, right? So if you understand why people act the way that they do, it's based upon childhood trauma. This person obviously went through something traumatic that made them react in a certain way that you obviously mirrored back healing that needs to happen for them. Essentially, that's their own lesson to do, I say quote unquote lesson. You also hold a state of love and compassion because you understand this person went through pain. You understand this person is just, once again, acting out the best way that they know how to handle the energy in the moment, right? This is still work that they need to do internally, and you are just the mirror mirroring it back to them, right? You then see everybody is still acting in the best way that they know how, because all of us have some form of trauma that we're working through. All of us are human. As my spiritual teacher has just told me yesterday, nobody gets a free pass. Not one human gets a free pass. It is just us and how we handle our situations in life. Everybody deals with this stuff, right? And it's not your place to judge somebody for how they're handling their life or how they're handling processing the energy, right? It's only between them and God, their business on how they need to handle the energy or live their life or heal, right? The universe will provide them with plenty more experiences that they need in their life to heal that trigger. It's not your place to judge them, right? That's between them and their God. Because let's circle back around. The only judgment that you hold is on yourself, right? So we want to let that go, because it's only you judging you, not the other person, because they're not going to feel that energy really. I mean, they might feel you get mad at them or whatever like that, but it's you holding on to that energy. It's you channeling that energy through your body. Your body's going to be the one to feel that, right? And that kind of brings me to my next point. You also can develop compassion in the situation when you understand that however which emotion that person felt, that anger, that however they reacted towards you, whatever they did, they're feeling that energy inside of them. They just reflected to you their internal world. And I don't care really who you are. I don't believe any human wishes another human to feel that way. I don't believe any human wants another human to feel anger, pain, the emotional trauma on the inside, right? At least not naturally. The soul does not want the soul to feel that way. So you understand that, once again, let's circle back around, the only way to the soul to relieve itself of that deadly energy was to act out in a certain way, right? Because the body is the channel, it is the gateway, it is the bridge between the energetic realms and here, right? So that's essentially what is happening when somebody acts out or energetic or lashes out or whatever you want to call it. So let's go into the next part of this video of just talking about rituals that you can do to help you let go of energy, like cord cutting. You can rip up contracts, you can rewrite contracts. However, you have got to understand the lesson behind whatever caused you to want to rip up the contract, okay? Otherwise, if you're just cord cutting, rewriting the contract, if you're just angry at this person, it's setting you up to basically repeat the pattern. Because if you're not understanding the lesson, if you're not conscious of it, and this is where they say that if you just cut the cord, rewrite the contract or whatever like that, and you're not actually understanding, you don't learn the lesson. You cut the lesson off, essentially. So when I do work like this with clients, when I do some form of a ritual that has cord cutting or rewriting contracts, or even in my own life, that when I've done this, I understand that it is me who is not in a place to heal the situation, and what I'm doing with these energetic tools is freezing the energy. Essentially, I'm freezing the energy to relieve myself of it until I can do the healing to forgive that person, right? Until I can see love in the situation and see it for what it is, to then forgive, right? Because when we go about just cutting the cords or doing the contracts or things like that, you're going to run into the same issue again, because you are not conscious of the lesson that you need to learn. Okay, so that's where they say whenever you cut the cord and you're not aware of what is going on, or you're just gonna be like, I'm so mad at this person, I'm just gonna cut the cord and just walk away. You're gonna be triggered again, because that's where the universe is gonna test you again to see if you've learned the lesson and to see love, right? So this is where I pair the cord cutting or the contract or something like that with a coaching session, so then the person understands that there is still work to be done, and to see if we can work through that without even having to do the ceremony. But most of the time what I find happens is we can work through it and do the ceremony, and it's just more power behind the intention. I just will not do the ceremony without a coaching session or an energy work session, because essentially when you're doing that as well too, you need to go in and heal the chakras that were connected to that other person. So to say maybe it was your significant other, you would need to go in and probably heal the sacral chakra and the heart chakra. Ceremonies like that, guys, they are powerful. If you guys want me to do videos on how to conduct those ceremonies, I can. There is cord cutting, there is rewriting contracts. Arena of karma is another one that I've learned, to completing the loop of karma and ripping up contracts. And you can freeze curses. I've done that as well too. I will make another video if you guys want me to, explaining how to do all 5 of these ceremonies, but I wanted to make this video just to give you the back story, or just to give you guys the conscious mindset behind cord cutting and practicing forgiveness, because that is so important when doing the energy work or the ceremonies behind it, or just even in your life, coming to that understanding of what it actually is for your own benefit. Because trust me, guys, when you practice the forgiveness and the letting go, it frees up so much energy and you feel so much better. But I will tell you this as well too, I have practiced forgiving and letting go of situations, and there are still times that I get triggered even by that same person from past events, especially if I see patterns playing out again, and then I have to walk myself through the remembering of what is actually going on. The universe will always test you, and just because you know these things doesn't mean that they won't come up again and you won't have to remind yourself again, and that is okay. I feel like people make the mistakes of, they have that understanding and the aha moment, and they're able to let it go in the moment, and then even pairing it with a ceremony, and then later on they get triggered again, and then they get frustrated at themselves. That is a very common thing to happen. This is the human experience. Life will always test you. It's just you getting better at responding to the test. And that is also where I like to have the knowledge paired with the ceremony, because it's just more power behind the intention, and it helps me, I want to say, come back to my remembering, because when I think of doing the ceremony, it's almost like relieving myself of that energy as well too, of being like, okay, like I did the ceremony, there was love behind it, and then I feel that love, that same kind of energy that I put into the ceremony, it reminded me of it, right? So then I bring love into the situation. I hope this helps you guys out to see maybe forgiveness in a different light, especially these rituals as well too, like cord cutting, contract writing, ripping up contracts, freezing curses, karma, things like that. Like I said, it all begins and ends with you, just like everything in our life, guys. Life's too short to be holding on to shit that really doesn't matter, and we should focus more on loving each other and holding space and compassion for one another, and trying to better one another's lives and being a team rather than fighting over petty shit. That's probably a little too much there. Anyway, sending you guys all my light and all my love. Satnam.